Hi, today we're going to do factorial. This lesson is not a beginning of factorial, it's something to do with the proof. So I'll really strongly recommend you have a bit about basics of factorial before you watch this video. Okay, let's start. A factorial proof using permutation formula. What is a factorial? It is the product of all positive integers. And with the notation, of course, 7 factorial, we use the exclamation mark there, and we do use calculator on that one. Now, unfortunately, this video, all the questions we have is non-calculator one. For example, 7 factorial, we will have 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, just like what it says the definition. It is the product. That's just that 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 is the product of all positive integers. That's what we just did. Now, formula is that n factorial equals n times, each time is 1 less, all the way down to 1. All right, so knowing all that, let's have a look at permutation. Now, permutation factorial formula, you can write it 2 ways. The P in brackets n comma r as NPR and permutation R. I think I'm just going to stick with this one. Question 1. Let's start with a simple question here. Simplify 1 over 4 factorial plus 1 over 5 factorial. With the fractions, the sum of fractions or subtraction, you've got to think about common denominator. Which one will be my common denominator? Do not times it and say 20 factorial. It doesn't work like that. Let's have a look at the 4 factorial, and the 5 factorial will be, now, as you can see, 5 factorial will be our common denominator because with that 5 factorial, 4 factorial is in it. We can really write it like that even. So 1 over 4 factorial plus 1 over 5 factorial. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to times by 5 on the top and on the bottom. That will make this 1 over 4 factorial will be 5 factorial. This will be 5 factorial. But on the top, numerator will be just 5. Now we can do the normal addition on this. So the answer will be 6 over 5 factorial. Question 2, prove. So I'm going to use left-hand side equal to right-hand side. So my left-hand side, okay. Now, if you're really confused about n and r and all that, just put a number in. So for example, n equals 6 and r equals 2. Okay, just pretend. So 1 over n minus r factorial will be 1 over 4 factorial, wouldn't it? Minus 1 over, and if I put n minus r plus 1 with 6 and 2, it'll be 6 minus 2 plus 1, it'll be just 5 factorial. So we know that this will be our common denominator, wouldn't you? Yeah. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to make my first fraction with the factorial using the common denominator. What I'm going to do is times n minus r plus 1, just like what we did times by 5 times by 5 to make this 5 over 5 factorial, right? So I'm going to do the exactly same thing on here. The rest goes the same. We don't have to change the second fraction because it's already in the common denominator. So now I'm going to make it into all in one with the common denominator. So that is same as this one. So on the top, I have that and minus 1. So if I do this one, n minus r plus 1 minus 1, I'm left with n minus r, and my denominator will be n minus r plus 1 factorial, which is same as my right-hand side. So it's as it required, left-hand side, therefore, equals right-hand side. Okay, really, if we want to make one more or one less, we can manipulate this factorial. So from 4 factorial, we want to make it to 5 factorial. We just have to multiply 5 onto that, will become 5 factorial. And from the 5 factorial, I want to change it to 4 factorial. In terms of 4 factorial, I could just write a 5 times 4 factorial. Next question, I'm just going to rewrite this in a more familiar way. So I'm going to still use left-hand side equal to right-hand side. Our right-hand side is, which is same as, so I'm going to leave that one on the side. So that's our goal. So n factorial n minus r factorial plus 2r n factorial n minus r minus 1 factorial plus r minus 1 n factorial n minus r minus 2 factorial. We just want to tidy it up a bit. Factorial plus 2r n factorial. Now, if I tie that up, it'll be plus 1 factorial r minus 1 n factorial n minus r plus 2 factorial. Okay, now I'm not going to do all 3 at the same time. I'm going to do first 2, and then later I'll do whatever I've got from the first 2. I'll do with the third one. I can tell this will be my common denominator because that will be one bigger. Okay, so one bigger factorial will be my common denominator. So if I put that in, all I have to do here is I just have to times by n minus r plus 1 because that's the one bigger term, plus 2r, won't change. Okay, I'm not going to do anything with the third fraction at the moment. Okay, so from here, what's my common factor? From my numerator, it will be n factorial. So I'm just taking that out, left with this. Okay, so if I do that, I'm left with this. Okay, that's not too bad. And I have to add the third one plus. Now I know that that's going to be my common denominator. So n minus r plus 2 factorial. All I have to do here is I have to times n minus r plus 2 in there and then leave the rest the same. Okay, whew, that's a lot. So what I've got now here, I'm taking the n factorial as my common factor out. So what I've got left is plus r. So if I expand this, I will have, let's see if I can cancel all this. Yes, I can cancel them. This, and this will cancel. And this will go. So what I've got left is this. So I've got n factorial, and then I have n squared plus 3n plus 2. I strongly recommend you do it by yourself with a pen and paper. Now I can factorize this to n plus 1, n plus 2. Okay, so it'll be n factorial n plus 1, n plus 2, plus 2 factorial. Now, with this, I could do, what's that going to be? That's going to be n plus 1 factorial. So it's like 5 factorial with 6. That means 6 factorial. Okay, now I've got n plus 1 factorial, and I still have n plus 2 factor there. So that'll equal to n plus 2 factorial. So on the top, I have n plus 2 factorial. On the bottom, I have n plus 2 minus r factorial. I just changed that in order to make sure that's the same as my right-hand side. Whew. So that's why it's left-hand side equals right-hand side as required. Okay, now you have to go through this again and have a look. Make sure you understand the characteristics of factorials and practice, and watch this video again and keep practicing. All right then, have a good day. Bye.